The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a story steeped in loss, set in a post apocalyptic world ravaged by a fungal plague. The game's opening is infamous for its emotional brutality. You start by playing as Sarah, a young girl, on the night the outbreak begins. The initial chaos is seen through her eyes the confusion, the panic, the desperate escape with her father, Joel, and uncle, Tommy. They flee through their burning town, dodging infected citizens and overwhelmed emergency services. The sequence is tense and terrifying, culminating in a confrontation with a soldier. The soldier is under orders to contain the infection at any cost and opens fire. Joel tries to shield Sarah, but it's too late. A single bullet hits her. The game then rips control away from you, forcing you to watch as Joel holds his dying daughter in his arms, begging her to stay with him as she bleeds out. This isn't a cutscene you watch from a distance. You are an active participant right up until the final helpless moments. It's a gut wrenching prologue that perfectly establishes the game's core theme the desperate, often violent lengths people will go to for those they love, all born from the trauma of losing everything. Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a sprawling Western epic about the slow, painful death of the outlaw way of life. You play as Arthur Morgan, a loyal enforcer in the Van der Linde gang, a family of misfits held together by their charismatic leader, Dutch. For most of the game, Arthur is a picture of rugged strength, a man who can handle any threat. But late in the story, he's diagnosed with active tuberculosis, a death sentence in the 1890s. The game doesn't just use this as a plot device, it integrates it into the gameplay. Arthur begins to cough. He grows pale and thin, and his physical abilities decline. The unstoppable outlaw is now frail and mortal. The darkest moment comes as he confronts the gang's rat, Micah Bell, while the Pinkertons close in. Depending on your in-game honor, Arthur's end varies, but both paths are bleak. He either dies in a brutal knife fight with Micah or succumbs to his disease and injuries while watching one last sunrise. After spending over 50 hours living as Arthur Morgan, robbing trains, getting into bar fights, and caring for his horse, watching him waste away and die so pitifully is a uniquely painful and drawn-out experience in gaming. His death isn't glorious, it's a quiet, inevitable surrender to a changing world and a disease that no amount of bullets could stop. Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is a masterclass in psychological horror, a game that's less about jump scares and more about a suffocating, deeply personal dread. The story follows James Sunderland, who is drawn to the fog-shrouded town of Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his wife Mary, which is impossible because Mary died from an illness 3 years ago. The entire game is a journey into James's shattered psyche, with the town's monsters serving as grotesque manifestations of his guilt, fear, and repressed desires. The most infamous of these is Pyramid Head, a hulking humanoid with a metal pyramid for a head who relentlessly stalks James. In one of the game's most disturbing scenes, James walks in on Pyramid Head, brutally assaulting and killing two other monsters, known as mannequins. The act is overtly sexual and violent, heavily implying it's a manifestation of James's own frustrated and dark sexual thoughts during his wife's long illness. The ultimate reveal of the game is its darkest moment. James didn't just lose his wife to sickness, he smothered her with a pillow, unable to bear watching her suffer any longer. He came to Silent Hill not to find her, but to be punished for what he did. That letter from Mary, it was a blank piece of paper he projected his own guilt onto. Spec Ops, The Line. Spec Ops starts off feeling like a standard modern military shooter, but it slowly peels back that facade to reveal a deeply unsettling psychological horror story. You play as Captain Martin Walker, leading a Delta Force team into a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai to find a lost US Army battalion. The moment that shatters any illusion of being a hero is the white phosphorus scene. Faced with an overwhelming enemy force, your squad finds a mortar loaded with white phosphorus shells. Your objective is clear: use it to wipe them out. You rain down fiery death from a detached thermal imaging perspective, watching the white-hot specks, people, scream and burn. After the attack, you walk through the aftermath, a hellscape of charred, twisted bodies still smoldering. The true horror sinks in when you discover the enemies you just incinerated were not soldiers, but the very civilians you were sent to rescue, forced to take up arms by the rogue battalion. The game forces you to confront the atrocity you committed, breaking the fourth wall to ask if you feel like a hero yet. It's a brutal critique of player complicity and the sanitized violence of video games, leaving a scar that most players never forget. Bioshock. Bioshock immerses you in the underwater city of Rapture, a failed objectivist utopia that has descended into chaos. As you navigate its leaking Art Deco halls, you are guided by a man named Atlas, who asks for your help in saving his family from the city's tyrannical ruler, Andrew Ryan. To survive, you must harvest Adam, a substance that grants superhuman powers from the little sisters, eerie little girls who are protected by the hulking big daddies. Throughout the game, Atlas's voice is your constant companion, his requests punctuated by the seemingly innocent phrase, "Would you kindly?" It becomes a recurring motif. The pivotal moment comes when you finally confront Andrew Ryan in his office. Ryan calmly explains that you are not a random plane crash survivor, but his own son, whom he sold as an embryo. He reveals that you were brainwashed from birth, conditioned to obey any order preceded by the trigger phrase, "Would you kindly?" He proves it by ordering you to kill him. "Would you kindly kill?" Control is taken away from you as your character Jack beats Ryan to death with a golf club. You realize you were never in control. You were a puppet all along, and the man you thought was your ally was your master. This twist recontextualizes the entire game, turning a story of liberation into one of absolute servitude. Gears of War 2. The Gears of War series is known for its high octane chainsaw bayonet action and stories of battlefield brotherhood. It's not a franchise you typically turn to for deep emotional gut punches, which is what makes one particular scene in the second game so shocking and memorable. The story follows Marcus Phoenix and his best friend Dominic Santiago as they fight the subterranean Locust Horde. Dom has a personal mission to find his wife Maria, who went missing years ago. Throughout the game, his search provides a humanizing counterpoint to all the carnage. Near the end of the story, Dom and Marcus finally find Maria's location. They fight their way through a Locust prison camp and find a containment pod. Dom, with hope in his eyes, opens it. Inside is a woman, but she is horrifically disfigured, malnourished, and psychologically broken from years of torture. It takes Dom a moment to realize this skeletal, lobotomized shell of a person is his wife. He breaks down, cradling her as he apologizes. Knowing she can't be saved, Dom pulls out his pistol, tearfully tells her he loves her, and executes her to end her suffering. In a game that's all about macho bravado, this raw, quiet moment of profound grief and mercy is utterly devastating. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 is a blockbuster first person shooter known for its explosive cinematic action sequences and fast paced multiplayer. But it's most famous, or infamous, for a single mission that shocked the world: No Russian. In this level, you play as Joseph Allen, a US Army Ranger deep undercover with a Russian terrorist cell led by the ruthless Vladimir Makarov. To maintain your cover, you must participate in a horrific massacre at a Moscow International Airport. The mission begins with your character in an elevator with Makarov and his crew. As the doors open to a terminal crowded with civilians, Makarov says, "Remember, no Russian," and they open fire. The player is then forced to walk through the terminal as your supposed comrades gun down hundreds of innocent people in cold blood. You are not required to fire a single shot yourself, but you are a direct participant, witnessing the carnage from a first person perspective. The mission ends with Makarov revealing he knows you're an American, shooting you, and leaving your body to be found by Russian authorities, thus framing the United States for the attack and igniting a world war. The level was so controversial that it came with a warning and the option to skip it entirely, but its raw, unflinching depiction of terrorism remains one of the most debated and unforgettable moments in video game history. Grand Theft Auto V. The Grand Theft Auto series has always been a lightning rod for controversy, building its reputation on satirical, over the top violence and criminal mayhem. But Grand Theft Auto V takes a sharp, uncomfortable turn into darkness with a mission called By the Book. In this sequence, you are forced to play as Trevor Phillips, the most unhinged of the game's three protagonists, tasked by federal agents to torture a man for information. The game doesn't cut away or sanitize the experience. It forces you to participate directly. A menu appears on screen giving you a choice of torture instruments: a car battery for electrocution, a wrench for breaking bones, pliers for pulling teeth. You must select a tool and perform the action. The victim screams, begs, and eventually gives up information, but your handler insists you continue, not for information, but to make a point. The scene is brutal, graphic, and completely devoid of the usual dark humor the series is known for. After you've extracted the information, you're ordered to kill the man, but in a rare moment of clarity, Trevor refuses and instead drives him to the airport, monologuing about the uselessness of torture. The game forces you to commit these horrific acts, making you complicit in a way that feels deeply unsettling and serves as a stark commentary on government sanctioned violence. Fallout 3. Fallout 3 drops you into a sprawling post apocalyptic wasteland, a retro futuristic America destroyed by nuclear war. While the game is filled with dark humor and bizarre encounters, one of its most morally disturbing moments is found in the seemingly idyllic town of Andale. Upon discovering this small, pristine settlement, you're greeted by friendly, almost overly cheerful residents who boast about their perfect old world American way of life. They live in clean houses, enjoy communal barbecues, and seem untouched by the horrors of the wasteland. However, if you start snooping around, you uncover a horrifying secret. In the basement of one of the houses, you find a cellar filled with mutilated human remains, and in a shed, you discover a strange meat locker. The awful truth is that the residents of Andale are cannibals, luring travelers into their town to murder and eat them, all while maintaining the facade of a perfect, friendly community. You learn they've been practicing this for generations, raising their children on human flesh and seeing it as a perfectly normal tradition. The stark contrast between their chipper, golly gee demeanor and their monstrous secret makes the discovery profoundly chilling, turning what seemed like a safe haven into one of the most sinister locations in the entire wasteland.